Well, hello there. It's been a while, eh? Um, Feeling very rusty. uh, so if you don't know me, my name is Julia. I'm known as Julicious here in the internet, and I've been gone a while. Uh, I started making floss tube videos 5 years ago, maybe? What year is it? 2021? 6 years ago. 6 or 7 years ago now. It's kind of a blur. Anyway, I've been gone for a while because I decided shortly after I hosted the original floss tube retreat, which took place in Austin, Texas in 2017, I think. I decided shortly after that that I was going to complicate my life even further and go back to school to study nursing. And that complicated my life far more than I thought it would. And I thought it was going to be pretty complicated. So I kind of petered out, just because if anyone has done an intensive degree program in, I think, any field, it's a lot. And I apologize if you can hear a cat scratching outside my office door. If folks are interested, I will give a proper life update at some point. The broad strokes are: finished nursing school, passed my board exam, I'm an actual registered nurse, and am working in an actual hospital in the middle of a 20-month-long and counting pandemic. And my hospital is located in an area of the country where it's just far enough outside of a major city that there's a lot of disinformation that people believe. And so my hospital is currently operating under an internal catastrophe situations, because we have more COVID patients than we know what to do with. And so we've stopped things like joint replacement surgeries, anything that is not a life or death kind of procedure we're not doing. We're only taking care of COVID patients and anyone else who gets hurt or sick in a life-threatening way. And we're understaffed, just like every other hospital in the United States. So I guess this is kind of just a long-winded pre-WIP parade way of me saying, please get vaccinated. The vaccine works. It works. Please, for the love of whatever deity you believe in, get vaccinated. Socially isolate if you have to. Or if you can, just please. We're drowning. And people are dying. But I'm fine otherwise. How are you? Okay, WIP parade. Anyway, yeah, I'm a nurse now. And I work at night. And so I am filming at night on a night off. I don't like working at night. Well, rather, I don't mind working at night. I really don't like what being a night shift worker does to my real life. That I'm not happy about. But that's another discussion for another time, because we are here to talk about, it's that time of year. It is the WIP parade time of year. And I have been thinking I'd like to try doing floss tube again, maybe not regularly, maybe once a month or once every other month. But I feel like this is a good place to start because I am doing WIP Go this year, and that's kind of a good that provides structure, which is nice sometimes. So I'm going to go through my WIPs in no particular order. I counted them. I have 14, which is more than I ever thought I would have, but far, far less than many folks watching this probably have. And one of the things, so my New Year, New Start, which was going to count in the WIP parade, but the fabric I ordered for it has not yet arrived. Which, I mean, that kind of bothers me, but at the same time, I'm not judging any small business owners right now. It'll get here soon-ish. Hopefully by the end of January, it will get here. My New Year, New Start was going to be finally, the village of Hawkrun Hollow. And the plan is to stitch it 1/1 full crosses on a 25 count. And the plan also is to personalize it quite a bit to the town in central Pennsylvania where I grew up. And I got this idea from the lovely and talented Ann P. From Fiber, Floss, and Fiction. She hasn't filmed a video for quite some time, and I miss her dearly, but I understand that life happens. Anyway, she personalized it because Hawkrun Hollow, so her maternal, maybe paternal grandparents lived in central Pennsylvania on a road called Moose Run Road. And so she personalized it to say Moose Run Hollow. And she converted the church to a church that her grandmother was active in. And the boarding house had like her grandma's name and a couple of other things. She personalized to her ancestors who lived in Moose Run. And initially when she did that, I was inspired to take the church and just convert it into a synagogue and make it the synagogue that I grew up attending. And I was gonna stitch the name of, I am going to stitch the name of the rabbi who had the most influence on my life. And that was really all I was going to do. And over the last few years, I've kind of come up with an idea to just try to personalize it to bits of the community I grew up in that maybe are not widely known to people who live outside of the community, but people who are from there would know. So I've had to be on, what is it? Is it Stitch Fiddle? The free cross-stitch design website. Anyway, I've been slowly personalizing things. I mean, right now I'm just kind of working on changing this because that's going to be the first major change. So if this comes up in WIP Go and the fabric isn't here, I'm just going to spend my WIP Go time working on the conversion. C'est la vie. Okay, let us start over here with another thing I have not yet started, but I will. I just need to serge the fabric. I was enabled to purchase by Bendy Stitchy and Lindy Stitches, and I went on, I think it was over a spring break last year. I went on eBay and just searched for it, and I found Going to Market. It's a Dimensions kit designed by Julia Cairns, and it's the full kit. Last week I sorted the floss, and it's stitched on 14 count Aida. I normally do not enjoy stitching on Aida, but I'm going to do it this time because I'm trying not to spend money on stash if I don't have to. It's not that I hate Aida just because it's Aida, and I don't have any particular snobbishness towards cross-stitch fabric. I just personally don't like the texture. Texture is pretty important to me. I find Aida to be too stiff, and that's not an only Aida thing. Oh, there's a brand of lamb's wool linen. Years ago, I stitched a small Prairie Schooler Halloween design on, and I couldn't wait for it to be over because the linen was just like, I could have held the bottom of the fabric like this, and the linen would have stood up. Like, it was... Anyway, all that to say, I don't judge people based on what fabric they choose to do their needlework on. I'm going to start this before the end of the year just so that it is officially a WIP, because it is on my WIP Go board, but it has not started yet. I know there's a companion piece to this one. I think Steph at Lindy Stitches stitched. It's very yellow, but I haven't been able to find it because I don't know what it's called, and I imagine it's out of print. Okay, WIP number 2. This is my big Mamba Jamba. This is a full coverage. This is based on a piece of art by the artist Medusa Dollmaker, and I purchased it from Gecko Rouge, which is a cross-stitch company based in the UK. It's the Gamer that I am stitching for my partner Josh, for which he is very grateful and thanks me for doing this every time he sees it. I'm not very far along. Excuse me, I burped. It's not a Jewlicious video, if Jewlicious does not burp. I am stitching this 1/1 full cross on Magica. It's the pre-gridded Lugana, but it's not. It's the 20 by 20 block and not the 10 by 10. And here's where I am thus far. This is on my WIP Go board 3 times because I really want to give this a lot of love this year. My goal is to finish 3 pages. That would be awesome. I think this page is almost done. I'm gonna finish the top. I don't want to finish the top. I just stitched this because I had finished this page, and at the time, I just could not bear to do more gray and beige. I just couldn't do it. So I went down a page because it starts on the lady's face and her hair. So that's where it is. I think this is much further along than it was the last time I showed it to anybody. So there's that. Oh, next one. I don't think I've actually shared that I started this, and I have it living in a pillowcase. This, I don't know that anyone enabled me to buy this. I just saw it when it came out at market a couple of years ago and fell in love. This is, you don't want to see, should have double checked. This is Huckleberry Farm by the Blue Flower. Here we go. Hold, please. Huckleberry Farm by the Blue Flower that I'm stitching with most of the called for colors. I think the only change I am planning to make is because Janine McGowan of the Blue Flower is on FlossTube, and she was talking about this piece and that it's she used to live in Montana, and so it's inspired by Montana. And I decided that the one change I wanted to make is this woman down here. Instead of white, I'm going to make her indigenous, because there are 3 or 4 indigenous nations that have reservations in Montana, and a lot of really vocal activists in the missing and murdered indigenous women, not charity, but so activists, are members of those nations, and so I thought it would be appropriate. I am stitching this with the called for colors, but I'm stitching it, I don't know why I not this past year, but the year before, I was in Picture This Is Plus's Fabric of the Month Club. And this package came, I mean, this fabric came, and I just thought it's perfect. And it's working pretty well. This is Amethyst. It is a 36 count linen. And that's where I am so far. The border is beautiful, but I'm finding the border very tedious to stitch. I think it's just because there's a lot of color changes. So I kind of gave the border a bit of a break and started working on the mountains, and I stitched that bare because it made me happy. So when I pick this up, if it gets drawn for WIPCO, I'm not sure. I might finish the mountains and then go back to the border, but we'll see. No, I think I'll put that back in its protective pillowcase after I'm done filming. Next WIP over here hasn't been out in quite a while. This is actually the first full coverage pattern I ever attempted, and I had initially, it had been in my UFO pile for quite a while, and then I just decided I thought it would be fun to at least stitch, even if I never did anything with it, just to have the experience. This is the Candleman Story Keep. It is from Heaven and Earth Designs. I'm sorry, I forget who the artist is, but I know they're still selling it. So I've got 1 page and a bit, and then I'm working on what would be, I guess, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, and then I think there's another 2 pages. Really not that much in terms of a margin. So I don't know that this will ever get framed, but we'll see. I mean, this one is really all about the experience for me, I think. Anyway, I'm stitching this 2/1 continental tent stitch on a white 25 count Lugana. I gridded it myself with Sulky before I knew how readily available Easy Count is. So that will get some love, hopefully, from WIPCO this year. A WIP that I started this past May, which is going to be a restart in the coming year, enabled by Steph at Lindy Stitches, but really inspired by grief. This past May, 2021, my family and I had to have 2 of our 3 cats, our oldest 2 cats, euthanized on the same day. And if anyone wants to hear the full story, I can tell it another time. Essentially, our oldest kitty, Alex, who was 19, had developed a brain tumor, and so we had gotten to the point where we knew it was her time, and we scheduled that day to be her last trip to the vet. And the day before, our middle boy, Andre, who is only about 9 years old, just had a catastrophic health crisis. And long story short, you know, we determined that we had to say goodbye. And that was really heartbreaking and unfair. But anyway, I have since decided to lean into my cat lady tendencies. But at the time I was like, I have to stitch. I wanted to stitch all the cats. I bought so many cat patterns. I finally bought Dimensions Gold's Maggie the Messmaker. I don't know when I'm going to start Maggie the Messmaker, maybe next year, maybe the year after, but anyway, I was I think Steph at Lindy Stitches had recently moved house, and one of the first cross stitch finishes she hung was her finish of this, and I thought, wow, that is so kitschy, and I have to have it. And I found the chart and the fabric, but not the floss, but it was for a very reasonable price on eBay. And I'm sorry about the glare. It's Bag Ladies. I started it and made a mistake that I didn't realize I had made until I was far enough through it, and it's on Ada, and I don't like Ada. And the Ada, when I opened the package, the seller had apparently at one point intended to start it because they put masking tape on the Ada, like this is how it came. So that's all I got done. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a mistake in the cat's face because it's a 2-page chart and the page break is like right here. And there's the bag is like a stitch too wide, and I think maybe a stitch too tall, and I don't want to fudge. I just don't have the headspace for it. So I bought a 32 count Jobelin. I think this is Jobelin. It might be Lugana. In a dove gray. I mean, it's similar enough. It may be a hair darker. The lighting's really bad in here. So I'm gonna restart that, and I think what I'm gonna do, just to make it easier, and I've got like twice as much fabric as I need. What I think I'm gonna do with my new start is count and like start in a corner and do maybe a 20 by 20 strip just until I get to either this cat or this bag, and kind of move this way with it. But we'll see. Fun times. I do love that. It's not something I would have even considered stitching even like 3 years ago, but it's funny how our tastes change. My most recent start is another Heaven and Earth design. I have been wanting to start this for a very long time because Sarah over at Stitchin' Mommy recently finished it, and I've been watching her work on it for years. And it reminds me of a very good friend of mine who I don't get to see often, hardly at all, just because of life and distance and all of that. But it's QS Iris. I don't have a picture, but if you just search for QS Iris on Heaven and Earth of Signs, you'll find it. Or if you go through Stitch and Mommy's Instagram, you'll find it. I'm still working on page 1. This is on, I think this might be a 28 count Lugana 1/1 full cross, because it feels smaller than 25. I could obviously get out a ruler and count, but I mean, I don't particularly care. I'm enjoying it. I started with the waist knot method over here. So that's how that's going. That's a proper start, so that can go in the WIP pile. But yeah, I think this is going to get 2 rounds on WIP Go. I don't remember. But yeah, finally started it. And that felt good. I think that's all the stuff that I had on this side. Let's move to the little pile over here. This is Cricket Collections, The Voyage Home, with a quote by Herman Melville, "All voyages are homeward bound." I am stitching this on a 32 count linen in Once in the Blue Moon by Fiberlicious, using the Called For Weeks Dye Works and the DMC. It was weeks and 1 color weeks and a bunch of DMC. It is almost done. My goal is to finish it this year. This bit right over here needs to be frogged, but I don't have a terrible lot to do. I modified the lighthouse to be Barnegat Lighthouse in New Jersey, because that is the lighthouse at the beach that I spent many a summer during my childhood. So that's where that is. This is a goal. It's a goal to finish that this year. All right, next up, I started this a few years ago. It's still not done. I got the kit. I think it's only available as a kit for Halloween Fairy by Mirabilia. And for some reason, I don't know why, I associate this pattern with Emily of Eclectic Possessions. And because I associate this pattern so much with Emily of Eclectic Possessions, I chose to, instead of stitching it on the kit fabric, I chose to stitch it on a piece of Picture This plus Murky. That's where she is. I worked on her a little bit this October. The kit floss for the skin makes it very blotchy, but honestly, I'm not gonna frog it and choose something else because I'm stitching the skin 1/1. I don't want to frog it. And honestly, it's just for me. But I like it. Next up, also needs some frogging. This was an impulse start. I don't normally succumb to FOMO, but when I do, I do. And I had tried to kit this up just with stuff from Stash, and I think I'm going to need to either do a DMC, do the called for DMC conversion, or bite the bullet and buy a couple of skeins of overdyed. I even made a note. This is Draculas Confession by Lindy Stitches, and I even, like, I discovered that I had made a mistake, and And it was in the middle of the semester and I was just angry. And so I just wrote myself a note that just says, words need frogged and redone. Save the floss if at all possible. I think because it's like a limited edition floss that I got in a stitchy box. I'm stitching this version. And fabric I had in stash that I just grabbed and went with because it was close enough is Cauldron by Picture This Plus. And I'm about that far. So I need to frog those words. But then, I mean, it's not a terribly big piece. So a stretch goal, I think, would be to finish it this year, but I don't, given the, I need to frog and maybe get some floss. I don't know that that's necessarily going to happen. Oh, next one, this was like a, hey, you graduated nursing school, good job. Enabled by Emily of Eclectic Possessions. I just picked random threads that I think looked good. This is Not in Forgotten Farms Witch's Garden sampler. The photo, this looks terrible on the screen because the photo on the front of the pattern looks terrible. It's really not good, but that's okay because it's a really beautiful sampler. I love the funky alphabet and I love the colors. I'm stitching this on a 40 count vintage country mocha linen. I'm a little over halfway, so we'll see. When this comes out for WIP Go, it'll get about 10 days. So I can probably make some decent progress. But I like it a lot. It was one of those things where I pulled it out and I was like, you know what, just to get it started, like I'll just do this alphabet and maybe this vine. And I did that and I thought, well, maybe I'll just finish the top 4 or 5 lines. And I did that. And I was like, I want to keep going. So I did. Yeah. Enjoying it. And this one. Edna. This, I think, is what I immediately picked up after the cats died because it is so bright and so cheerful, and I am not a bright, cheerful color person, but I needed it. I needed this after we lost the cats. That's being stitched with all the called for things, and it's almost done. Like, this will definitely get finished. Like, look at the, look how close that is. I just need to finish the bird herself. And then I just need to find a frame and stick it in there and hang it in my dining room. So that's a finish for sure. Next was sort of a sneaky start, probably about 2 years ago now. This is the Baba Yaga sampler by Thread Sewer on Instagram and Etsy. I am stitching this 1/1 on 28 count Jobelin. I'm using a DMC variegated. This is number 4522. Josh chose this, my partner Josh. And here's where I am. I stitch this in hand most of the time. No major goals on when it's going to get done, when it's not. That'll happen when it happens. This I got sucked into. So Abby Bella Stitch started the Stitch Mania not Stitch Mania. Good God, Julia. Stitch Asia. And I wanted to participate, and I had just wanted something small, but I couldn't find anything that I liked, and blah, 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 blah. And then Brittany over at Ingleside Imaginarium wanted to contribute, and she designed a Tibetan-inspired pattern. It's called Fiona Naga. It's because, you know, Brittany likes to design dragons. And so this is sort of a sea dragon. And I was like, yep, that's the one, because it's free. I have fabric that'll work, and it's all in DMC. Let's do it. And I was obsessed. And I got about half of it done, including the back stitching, which is a feat. I'm going to put this behind it. This I am stitching on a piece of 32 count linen from Picture This Plus in the colorway Tempest. And I'm sorry, the lighting is terrible, but it's the middle of the night. So like the detail is just breathtaking. All the back stitching is done from about here up. There's a lot. Love this. I think this might become a wall hanging. In my bedroom, I have a wall hanging that is an applique of a Tibetan meditation mudra, and the hand is holding a lotus. My friend, I bought that from a friend. Oh God, almost 10 years ago. It's the mudra for giving refuge, and so my bedroom's an appropriate place for that. But I think this will maybe go on the opposite wall or the perpendicular wall. We'll see. I don't know. Almost done. Almost done. This was enabled by Emily C. at Eclectic Possessions, Diana of It Is Kismet Stitches, and Olivia B. They started this sampler years ago, and I loved it. It's the Starry Night sampler by the City Stitcher. And I loved it, but I wanted to change some of the colors, and because it's a nighttime sky sampler, I wanted the fabric to be blue. And I wanted to use as much color and cotton as I possibly could. So this is a combination of DMC and color and cotton thread, and the fabric is color and cotton linen. This is a 36 count in Nightshade. Now, what really inspired me to like actually kit this up and start it was Olivia changed the alphabet at the top to a quote and did it as a tribute to Tom Petty, the year that he died. And I liked that idea, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. And so what I did is I charted one of my favorite Carl Sagan quotes, and I'm going to put his name in the center motif. So this is going to be my Carl Sagan tribute Starry Night sampler. I chose the quote, "I don't want to believe, I want to know," with the dates of his birth and death. And then I just need to fiddle with fitting. I know his name will fit in here. I just need to chart it. So that's my Starry Night sampler. You can't really see what it says because of the lighting. But I love it in person. Is this my last one? Last one, guys. Last one. We did it. Under an hour. This is my most ambitious. I started it just to start it in October for Dark October. I need a magnifier. I'm turning 40 in 2022, and I need a magnifier. And I discovered that when I tried to stitch on 56 count linen. But I really like stitching on 40 count linen, and I like stitching on 46 count linen, and so it was only natural to attempt 56 count linen. Had my eye on Beggar's Night from Threadwork Primitives for a while. It's nice because it's all DMC. I have the teeniest, tiniest start on this because it didn't take me long to realize that I need a magnifier if I'm going to stitch on 56 count. I don't even know if that's focusing. But that's it. So, if you have any recommendations for a good cross-stitching / needlework magnifier, I am all ears. I have been knitting, but not very much. I plan to get back in the swing of things with that this coming year as well. I actually just purchased with some Hanukkah money a couple of sets of circular needles for sock knitting, because I didn't knit a lot during nursing school, but I bought a lot of sock yarn, supporting a lot of Black and indigenous yarn dyers. Because, yeah, that's pretty much the only yarn I buy these days is indie dyers. So that's that. That is my WIP parade. You will find me on the WIP Go Facebook group. If you look for me, you'll see me. You can find me on Instagram at Julicious. I haven't updated there much either, but we'll see how the coming year goes. So yeah, first video in a while. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you didn't hate it. So yeah, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you. Please get vaccinated, stay safe, take care of yourselves, don't be racist, don't be transphobic, be kind. Like, when in doubt, err on the side of kindness. Yeah, so I'll catch you around the internet, folks, all right? Take care of yourselves.